Hi children. When the scientists are busy in discovering about elements, they found it necessary to classify elements into metals, nonmetals and other categories depending on their physical and chemical properties. Now let us discuss physical properties of metals and nonmetals. These are as follows. Luster. Metals are generally shiny in nature, and that is why we call metals are lustrous. Whereas non-metals have dull surfaces and they do not shine. That's why we can call them as non-lustrous. Next comes hardness. If you try to cut an iron with a knife, can you do it? No. Why? Because iron is a metal. Metals are hard in nature. Do the same activity of cutting a rubber. You can do it easily. Why? Because rubber is a non-metal and non-metals are soft in nature. Next comes malleability. For this, take an iron nail, a piece of coal, aluminium wire and a lead rod. With the help of a hammer, hit on each of the element you have taken. If you observe here, the iron nail and the aluminium wire alters their shape. The shape changes, whereas the coal and lead rod break into pieces. This property, when the metals are hit and hard, they can be made into thin metal sheets. They can be drawn into thin sheets. They can be beaten into thin sheets. The property of metal beaten into thin sheets is called as malleability. Next comes ductility. Ductility is a property of metal which can be drawn into thin wires. You can observe various thin wires in our daily life like aluminium wires, copper wires in electrical purposes and even iron wires also you can observe. Whereas non-metals are non-ductile. They are broken into pieces if you try to draw them into thin wires. Sonority. Sonorous means producing a ringing sound. You can hear the ringing sound of a bell when it is hidden. As children, you can hear the ringing sound of the bell. Metals are sonorous, whereas non-metals are non-sonorous. They don't produce any sound. Conduction of heat. When you heat a iron rod at one end, you can feel the hotness at the other end too. This shows that heat is conducted from one end of the iron rod to the other end, whereas non-metals are poor conductors of heat. That is why you can observe the handles of cookware are made up of non-metals, as they are bad conductors of heat. Conduction of electricity. For this, we will do an activity. For that, you require a simple circuit with a cell, bulb, and two wires, and various objects like iron nail, sulfur, coal piece, and a copper wire. Place the iron nail in between the two ends. The bulb glows. That means it is a conductor. Place the sulfur piece. The bulb doesn't glow. That means it is a bad conductor of electricity. Place the coal piece. It is a bad conductor as the bulb is not glowing. Connect the circuit with the copper wire. You can see the bulb glows. That means metals are good conductors of electricity, whereas non-metals does not conduct electricity. There are some exceptions, children. Sodium and potassium are the soft metals. In general, all the metals are very hard, whereas sodium and potassium can be cut with the help of a knife. These are soft metals. And all the metals are hard and solid in state, There is another exception called mercury, which is liquid metal at room temperature. And a non-metal, which is luster, is iodine. And diamond is the hardest substance, which is a non-metal. That means, depending upon the physical properties, we can't classify a substance into a metal and non-metal. There is a need for detailed study of chemical properties of the substances also for classifying them into metals and non-metals. The chemical properties of metals and non-metals will be discussed in the next class. Thank you, children.